because I happened to come on to the opinion writing scene prior to the internet as a widespread, as a mainstream thing. I was on the internet. A number of my friends were on the internet, but most people weren't. And so when I was first writing for WorldNet Daily, there wasn't a possibility of being deplatformed for your views. Now, I did run into a couple situations where it was made clear that I was not going to be invited to join the St. Paul Pioneer Press editorial, opinion page, because I was too libertarian. I was too far right. And to the editor's credit, he made it very clear to me. He explained how the system worked to me and said, you will never, ever be given a position on any major newspaper editorial page, so don't waste your time. And far from being bitter about that, I was very happy. I was glad to be warned. But I had no idea that the things that I wrote about were going to be dug up and used against me in an attempt to disemploy me, in an attempt to harm me in any possible way they could dig up. Because that didn't used to happen. It didn't used to be like that. You were allowed to speak your opinion, however crazy, and nobody was going to try to destroy you over it. I mean, okay, maybe if you got way too deep into the weeds, if you started messing around in secret government programs or that kind of stuff, maybe there would be some consequences. After all, the Men in Black and all that sort of thing long predates the internet. But for the most part, for the average person, there were no wildly negative consequences that were inevitable anytime you said anything that violated the mainstream narrative. There was a narrative back then, don't get me wrong. In fact, more people believed the narrative because the narrative was whatever Walter Cronkite said it was. And everybody believed it on both sides, right and left. And so the internet broke that model. And so what we're seeing with the SJWs and with the tech companies and everything else is an attempt to effectively recreate that situation where there was a single mainstream narrative and everybody accepted it. And so they're trying to recreate a simulation of that universal narrative, but they're trying to do it by imposing it rather than it existing more or less naturally on the basis of there only being 3 channels. So that's what I mean when I say I never had a choice. I had 2 choices. Just keep speaking the truth as best I understood it, or to publicly recant and, publicly cuck and beg for mercy and all that sort of thing. And of course, I'm not inclined to do that. There's no way that I want to. There's no way that I'd be willing to do that. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am now, and you would not be paying any attention to me if I didn't make the decision to just speak the truth, the narrative be damned, and abandon, the possibility becoming a media whore on Fox, or becoming a New York Times best-selling author, and all that sort of thing. And it's okay. I was cool with that. I was fine with that. But the problem is that what used to be limited to the political world suddenly began invading everything else. And that's what Gamergate was about. I am a proud original Gamergater. I was with Gamergate before it was even named Gamergate, back when it was called the Quinspiracy. And it marked the first time that people finally stood up to the SJWs and not only stopped them, but actually went on the offensive. And there's some stuff that I would like to be able to talk about, people that nobody knows about who deserve a tremendous amount of credit. And there's a reason why, as recently as this week, the New York Times wrote 5 articles, 5 opinion pieces, all attacking Gamergate and talking about how Gamergate, is responsible for Trump's election and the alt-right and, pretty much every good thing that has happened since 2015. And so, when we look at, when we look at the fruits of Gamergate, Gamergate failed in one sense. The game industry has not been fixed. The game industry is in some ways worse than it used to be. But it was the first time that people across the political spectrum came together and stood up against the narrative. They publicly rejected the narrative. They publicly destroyed the narrative, and they demonstrated to everyone how you do it. And the way that you do it is through relentless collective effort. And that's why the community of the Bears is so important. That's why the Dread Ilk are so important. That's why all of these things are, all of these ad hoc communities are tremendously important, because they're essentially 4th generation warfare in the information sector. And so a lot of the stuff that we're doing is a direct result of that, because they will not leave us alone. They will never leave us alone. They can't. Their amygdalas are triggered by our very existence. And so, asking them to stop attacking, asking them to live and let live, asking them to stop lying, to stop trying to impose false narratives, that will never happen. And that's why I think it's so important to accept this concept that conflict is in the air we breathe. In Gamergate, we had a saying which was "shut up and email," because it was the game industry, so you had a tremendous number of gammas and young guys who were very low on the social totem pole, and all they wanted to do was be left alone to play their games. But they realized that they couldn't, that they wouldn't be, and so they came back strong, and they actually managed to take down their greatest enemy. Gawker no longer exists. We're Gamergaters. Defeating the big boss of level 1. What's the reward? You know this. The reward, of course, is level 2. There you go. Jay's got it, Tango Bear's got it, Sam's got it, Sir Hamster's got it. And so our goal is not to win the game. Our goal is not to end the game. Our goal is to score as high as we can possibly get. We just keep going. You take down Gawker. Who's next? You get deplatformed by Patreon. Who's next? No matter what you do, you stick another quarter in the game and you keep playing. Yes, it's good to level up. Our goal is to level up. But, we're not trying to win because we can't eliminate the devil. That's beyond our pay grade. Because that's the ultimate big boss, whether you realize it or not, whether you believe it or not. I am telling you, that's the big boss. And all the various people that you blame for this or that or the other thing, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about the left, whether you're talking about the Muslims, whether you're talking about the illegal immigrants, whether you're talking about the Jews, whether you're talking about the European Union. No matter who you're talking about, they are all just bots and enemies. They're bots and minor enemies. Jesus is my cheat code. Yeah, that's a shirt that we should have. Jesus himself talked about being offered the world. Well, who offers you the world? The party who controls it? No. He didn't take it. Others take that ticket. Others take that offer. They might not get offered, they don't get offered the whole thing, but they take the offer. Lollipops and fancy pants, as it is said. And so, what I would like all of you to do is to accept that reality, accept that philosophy. You're all gamergaters now, whether you realize it or not. Except the game is much, much bigger than you'd ever imagined. We're not going to win. Jesus is the one who's going to win. But we are going to score as high as we possibly can in the hopes that one day we'll be told, you ran the race, you fought the fight, you played the game, and you did well. And that's all we can ask for. That's all we can hope for. The most powerful word in the man at the time said, begin each day by telling yourself you'll meet with ingratitude and unpleasantness and every form of malice and evil and so forth. He was the most powerful man in the world. What on earth do you think that you're going to face? It's just the reality. And so, there's a great scene. I love the scene in 300 when Leonidas is talking to the allies. But he asks them, what do you do? And the one guy says he's a farmer. The other guy says he's a potter. And Then he asks his Spartans, all of them, what do you do? What is your profession? And so I want you to understand what your profession is. I want you to accept what your profession is, because you can't avoid it. You can't get away from it. It is all around you. It is in the air you breathe. It is the water in which you swim. And so, right now, it's a cultural war. It's not a violent war. Owen's right. He's not encouraging people to do that. But the important thing is to accept the philosophy that I learned from my martial arts sensei. And it's something that I've always attempted to practice. And that is, start nothing, finish everything. We don't look for the conflict. The conflict is all around us. But just like in, it's a little bit different than a video game. In a video game, you have to go exploring. In the culture war game, the enemy comes and finds you. And, I would encourage you to look up the old Gamergate memes. Do a search for them, for the Gamergate memes. I think you'll find them very encouraging, because the one thing that Gamergate understood above all is that morale is everything. Owen likes to say, nobody's having more fun than us. And you can see it. You can see the fade joy in people's eyes just when they talk about it. When we did our campaign, see, 1950 Archangel isn't getting it. He says, this is nearly scary, depressing. Like, are you prepping us for bad news? Happy birthday. No, not at all. I'm encouraging you to become something better than you are. I'm encouraging you to embrace the way of the culture warrior. The enemy is terrified of you. They're literally terrified of you. I mean, it's why do you think that they try to silence us? They try to silence us because our message is so compelling. Think about how many of you right now are feeling encouraged by what I'm telling you. And how many of you are feeling discouraged? Just type an E or a D. And I'm not encouraging you to do one or the other. Just say how you're feeling. How does this make you feel when you watch this? There's a reason. Get all caught up. We're going to wave a flag and we're going to play manipulative music at you. There is no manipulation here at all. I haven't asked you to do anything. I haven't pointed you at anyone. I haven't played any emotionally manipulating music. I haven't even used much rhetoric. This is a dialectical discussion. We've made references to some rhetoric, but we haven't used it because I am not fundamentally a rhetorical speaker. I love the fact that thousands of people have read the 4GW handbook. I love the fact that hundreds of subscribers have watched the 4 Generations of Modern War lecture by William S. Lind. Because all of these things demonstrate how we score higher. Not how we win. Jesus is the only one who's going to win. But we can play the game and play the game well and play the game effectively. And one day we have like Jay Stang says, we have the privilege and opportunity to fight for and win our freedom. And we do. We have the freedom and the opportunity to bend the knee and say Jesus Christ is Lord now, of our own free will, because we recognize the truth. We don't have to wait until Jesus conquers the world and forces everyone, including the demons, to bow. And so people ask me, well, why do you stick by people? Don't you know that Owen is crazy? Don't you know that Milo is a sodomite? Don't you know that Cerno Cerno got accused of date rape? And don't you know this? And don't you know that? I know. I don't care. I don't care in the slightest. Why not? Because they're the Spartans. They're the ones who are going to stand there and fight in the shade. We have to answer we each have to answer for our own sins. I've got a lot of things to answer for. Milo's got a lot of things to answer for. So does Cerno. So does Owen. We all do. But you know what? It's not my job to judge it. And an Organic Bear says, Milo is the Spartan with the glittery cape. Exactly. And so the thing is that if you don't agree with me on everything, that's fine. All I ask you to do is to speak the truth as best you understand it. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to, follow my lead. People have been standing up for the truth for literally thousands of years before I existed. People are going to be standing up for the truth long after I'm gone. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about any other internet celebrity. It's not even about the evil that exists today. Evil exists today. Evil existed yesterday. Evil will exist tomorrow. And so, when you look at the situation, then you need to make the decision. You need to make the choice. And that's why I'm encouraging you to make the choice to always stand up against the narrative. Always question the narrative. Always call it out. And after you win a victory, after you lose a battle, then you get up the next day and you say, I got a new quarter. That's the phrase that I would encourage you to remember. I got another quarter. Because You just keep playing the game. I always find, there's certain songs that I tend to find particularly inspirational. And, the first one is Les Miserables, Do You Hear the People Sing? Very revolutionary, very inspirational. Rage Against the Machine. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Now that obviously, these are both from the left, right? But we are now the ones standing against the authority of this fallen earth. When another one, tub thumping, Chumbawamba. You get knocked down, you get up again. I Can Move Any Mountain, The Shaman. Indestructible, Disturbed. So know your enemy is important, but equally important is to know yourself. And so know yourself and know that you are a gamergator. Know yourself and know that you are a culture warrior. Know yourself and know that you are going to get up again if and when you get knocked down. Mr. Max Bowman said, I don't get it. I get the metaphor, but what are we supposed to do? That depends on what your abilities are. If you don't know what to do, then the first thing that you should do is support those who are doing something. Subscribe to Unauthorized. Go to one of Owen's shows. Buy a Mike Cernovich book. Milo's got a new book out. There's lots of things that you can do to get started. We always say that the two main memes that I preferred during Gamergate was, number one, shut up and email. Don't waste your time. What should we do talking about this? We've already told you. Send the emails to the companies. Shut up and email. The other thing that we would say, shut up and email, and the ride never ends. And that's very, very, that's very, very simple. Same concept. That's basically what I'm telling you here. The ride never ends. Bradford Walker is a good point. Support your allies. That's basic level stuff. Don't give money to the enemy. Ditto. Exactly. Max says, I subscribe to Unauthorized already, and I bought some of your books and other people's books in the culture war. Then you're doing something. Then you have begun. You're part of it. But the main thing is seek out the truth, speak the truth, and don't cower in front of the enemy. Don't accept their narrative. It's not about trying to enact massive and major change by yourself. Was I the leader of Gamergate? That was always funny. Nobody fell for that. It was so obvious to me when the alt-right began to come to the media attention. You could see how people like Richard Spencer and so forth, whether they were, infiltrators and shills or not, it was so clear that they didn't understand Gamergate at all. The yeah, right. That was the phrase. I'm the leader of Gamergate, and so can you. Yeah. Read C.S. Lewis and G.K. Chesterton. It's not a bad place to go. Yeah, and the thing is that it wasn't like everybody in Gamergate agreed with each other. I mean, we are much more collectively of one mind than Gamergate ever was. There were lots of people who despised me inside Gamergate. And they're like, we don't need this right-wing media horror, blah, blah, blah. Brandon O'Neill said, don't know what to believe on internet about Gamergate. Ignore most of it. The general description of it is authorized on the first because I'm too lazy to put money in the bank. Fair enough. As long as you show up sooner or later, it's all good. Yeah, there's stuff on the Infogalactic version is better, but I haven't even looked at it in over a year. So I don't know how good that entry is. But start at the Infogalactic one. It still leaves a lot of important stuff out. Like I said, some of the stuff nobody knows. But hopefully I can talk somebody into writing a book about it. Deb Davis says, Sargon was a member of Gamergate. He and the Dark Lord have almost nothing in common ideologically. That's right, but we have a genuinely we still have that connection. I did a couple interviews. I don't think it was Sargon. Who was it? But it was another Gamergater, and he asked me to do something, even though I don't do interviews and that sort of thing. I did it just because he was an old Gamergater. Maybe we can get Scalzi to write it up. How's the documentary coming along? It's done filming. It's in editing. That's all I know. I'm just the executive producer. So I'll check in a little while. I'll check in a few days, see how they're doing. I don't like to look over people's shoulders, and plus I've got too much to do anyhow. We'll always have Gamergate, he says wistfully. Welcome, S. Oh, Ralph Retort. That's right. Yeah, it was the Ralph Retort. So, I don't even know what Ralph's politics are. I don't care. And actually that's how Gamergate is how Mike and Milo and I first met. The three of us co-sponsored Gamergate in Paris. Daddy Warpig was awesome. Off topic, but do you have an interest in using music from outside contributors for unauthorized projects? Would love to contribute if there's a need. We have some, but as you might expect, given my background, the level of quality we expect is extremely high. Max Boivin says, one big problem of Gamergate is that they won a battle and thought that they had won the war. Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair, a fair criticism. I haven't done any of the super chats yet, so relax. I have no thoughts on Bukowski, whoever that is. Who benefited from demonizing the alt-right, though? It was the establishment Republicans. Yeah, to a certain extent. No, I did not have any interaction with Nick Monroe that I can recall. Yes, that was the kill stream. Although I think I was on the Ralph Retort proper before there was any kill stream. So, no worries. All right, let's just go ahead and do some super chats then. I'm going to start with G's from last night, which is, what would a civilization that is completely and totally pro-logos look like? Well, it would be first of all, a society that was dedicated to truth, beauty, and goodness. It would be a society that was willing to police it. It would be a society that was willing to expel people who were not willing to live up to those standards. And so I don't know that there has ever been such a society. In fact, I don't think there has really been one. But I think that in terms of superficially, it would look a lot like the caricatures of Norman Rockwell America, especially the ones that are hated by the SJWs and the anti-Western civilizationists today, because we know they project. So what do they hate and fear? Logos. So what do they portray as the epitome of evil? Happy white American families that go to church and dress respectably and behave in a civilized manner. They hate that. So, I think that the caricature of 50s Americana is probably more what a fully logos-oriented society would look like than just about anything else we can imagine. Marie Goulet says, I ran 20 miles today and learned nothing. Well, you learned that you can run 20 miles, so I don't think that's nothing. Justin says, sorry if you've mentioned this, but I missed a stream or two this week. Is there info for the shirts for premium members? Not yet, but Crypto Fashion is putting that all together for us. Actually, here's something that we need to discuss is I have not yet converted anybody to a mailing list. We use the mailing list very effectively for Castelia House. We have a separate one for Archaven. I think it's time for us to start putting one together for unauthorized. So what I'm going to do is we've got all the emails for unauthorized, but I don't want to have anybody on the email list who doesn't want to be there. So, if you guys have any ideas about the best way for us to offer that, offer the chance to be on the unauthorized email list, let me know. Obviously we could just import everything to MailChimp and then get everybody to confirm that they want to opt in. That's one idea. If you have other ideas, please go ahead and shoot me an email on the subject. Hermit Bear says, hi Vox, thanks for your dedication to truth and bringing us to Christ. Happy birthday. You have the vigor of a 20-year-old with the wisdom of a 333-year-old. According to Infogalactic, this averages out to 51 years young. Thanks. I actually feel pretty good, to be honest. I did my annual physical recently, and the doctor said that I'm in exceptionally good shape. The things range from normal to really good. I'm about the weight that I was when I was, I think I'm 2 pounds heavier than I was when I was doing martial arts when I was 25. And so, actually, we had a soccer practice recently, and I scored a goal and stopped, literally stuffed the shots of two guys that would have had goals. And so I don't know yet because the season hasn't started, but I think I'm going to hold on to my starting position. Maybe. Maybe if only because I've gone to all the practices. But when you're 50, 51 years old, you have to do everything you can because, I'm now the youngest players allowed are 28. So I am, quite a bit older than, I'm more than 20 years older than some of the guys I'm playing with and against. And so it's a great challenge. But Marie Golay says, happy birthday. Thank you. Creative Bear says, Ben Shapiro actually says, I've gone out and bought several sheets myself. Then he says, Boll and Branch sells exclusively online. Where did you go and buy them, liar? Promo code. What a loser. I think you mean Grand Wizard Ben Shapiro. Yeah, I mean, he lies constantly. He's a subversive. It's what he does. It's the God he worships. What fellowship can dark have with light? If you are not for Jesus Christ, you are against him. Shapiro is, and always has been, the enemy. Dan Weston says, an appeaser is one who hopes to be eaten last. Exactly. Jay Stang says, in my world of sales, it's the next order, the next project, the next challenge, the next year's sales goals. That is correct. Marie Golay says, the devil resides inside everyone. He is a cancer not to be fed. That's a rather gruesome way of looking at it. Gummer Bear says, you, sir, have a happy birthday. Thank you. I have to say that I think my cake this year is epic, if I have understood correctly. But we'll wait and see. I'll maybe show you a picture tomorrow. Dan Weston says, we are in a spiritual battle whether we like it or not. Exactly. We either learn how to fight or end up as a casualty. That's not quite right. We either learn how to fight or we're defeated. We're going to end up as casualties. We're going to end up as fatalities regardless. One of the few intelligent things that Jim Morrison ever said is nobody gets out of here alive. So the only question is, how high do you want your score to be? Because your game is going to end at some point in time. So play well. Feeling Lucky Duck said, toward that Celeste you like. Happy birthday. I think we'll have to break it out tomorrow. Marie Golay said, I have to confess I tore up my brother's baseball cards and put them in a vent. Ask Chris what happened to my Barbie's heads. You will side with me. I have no idea what that means. I mean, I understand. I just have no idea why you would share that at this point in time. Filter Bear says, I bought a Throne of Bones with my last Audible credit, so I wanted to match what you charge on Archhaven. Oh, that's very thoughtful. Thank you. My girlfriend and I absolutely loved it. Thank you for the incredible book. I can't wait for a Sea of Skulls. Actually, before Sea of Skulls comes out in audio, Jeremy is recording Summa Helvetica right now, and I think you'll love that. We already talked about Gilbert Lee. I mean, I'll put out a call when we want some more music. Do you think the first Crusaders really saw visions of saints and angels at the Battle of Antioch? I think there's a good chance. Could also be that they were in the desert and seeing hallucinations. Who knows? But all we know is they said they saw it. I don't think that we can completely count that out. H.P. Lovecraft, Omega or Gamma? I think he's more Gamma. Splitter Trace, was Common Core and Microsoft involved with Gamergate? No. The serious question. My job pushes gender preference lies. I don't like it, but I'm not financially able to leave this job yet. Is going along with it until I can leave picking my battles or cowardice? It's picking your battles. Look at who you are and look at who your employer is. Is that a reasonable battle? Are you personally capable of taking them on individually? Be an infiltrator. Be recon. Remember, the Bible encourages us to be as pure as doves, but as wise as serpents. I think that's a situation where the wise of serpents applies. Happy birthday, Vox. I'm still not receiving notifications for your streams. Not concerned about that, but want to be on your mailing list. Should I email you again? Yes. Put notification in the header, please. One of the problems that people have is that they send me a email and it says, hey Vox, I really like this and that and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And oh, I want to ask you about this and blah, blah, blah. And then at the bottom, it says somewhere like, oh, and can you send me a notification? I want to be on the notifications list. No, don't do that. If you want to be on the notification list, send a thing that says notification in the headline. And then on the first line says, please add me to the notification list. Make sure you mention if you're a gold channel member or not, so then that I can put you on the book review notifications instead of the regular notifications, but you'll get both if you are. And that's it. I get hundreds of emails a day. And so the more that your email looks like a wall of text, the less likely it is to get read in its totality. Can you guys do a link or a toggle in the dashboard tab to join the mail list? Yeah, of course, and we will do that. But if we do that, then we end up with like 2% of the people signing up. That doesn't work very well. Where did the silent generation go wrong in parenting the boomers? I don't know. I wasn't there to see it. I know that the boomers went wrong with JS or with Generation X by abandoning us so that the moms could go out and work and go to the aerobic studio. Who's your favorite poet? Byron, without question. Okay, cool. So we're caught up. Do you shave your head? I don't shave my head. I just use a trimmer. I'm balding and I have no idea what to do. Just try shaving it. I mean, I would actually probably be more inclined to go clean. I kept my head shaved clean for several years when I was doing martial arts. But my wife prefers it trimmed, so we go with the trim look. The Lord of the Rings, and you've got Arts of Dark and Light. And that's pretty much it. More dogs. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I hope you found this to be encouraging rather than discouraging. But even if you did find it discouraging, don't worry about it. We'll be back tomorrow. Maybe I'll have a picture of the cake. And again, if you haven't subscribed to Unauthorized yet, I'd encourage you to do so. It's growing like crazy. It's going really well. And things are also going well with the movies. And in fact, Chuck Dixon's Avalon number 5 and 6 are now almost done. We just need to letter them. So that means that we're going to be able to get the second omnibus out to Alt Hero backers relatively soon. On that note, I wish you a good evening. This is the Darkstream. I'm Vox Day.